beautiful homemakers. We're continuing Secrets of Fascinating Womanhood, Chapter 9, Secret Number 6. We're continuing with the class. Angela spoke. Yes, all this makes a lot of sense to me. I work as a school teacher, so at least I can be home about the same time my children come home. But about 2 years ago, I worked full-time for a short while in an office helping one of my brothers, from 9 o'clock in the morning until 5 at night. I felt very guilty that I wasn't there when my children got home from school. And it seemed to affect them, too. My daughter started wetting the bed at night, so I gave up the job and stayed home full-time for a while. But do you know what? I still felt guilty. I felt I was stagnating. Most of my friends were working. Cherry laughed. I know just how Angela feels. Guilty if we stay home, guilty if we go out to work. The class laughed. The teacher smiled and said, Remember what Elsie said 2 lessons back? When you are in step with the world, you are out of step with God. Fascinating Womanhood brings us back into step with God, back into step with truth and goodness. I sometimes think, on the day of judgment, what is God going to be more concerned with? How many words we typed a minute in our office job? Or how well we raised our precious children? Remember God's plan. The man provides and the woman nurtures. We are both happiest in our distinct roles. Fascinating Womanhood encourages mothers to stop working outside the home when at all possible. Yes, we might buy fewer luxuries than our neighbors, but that's more than made up for by the joy of tender and loving relationships with our husband and children. And there is the added bonus of much more free time to develop our minds and our interests, and to enjoy our homemaking and spending time with our friends. Beth spoke again. You do make some valid points, and I can see that you believe in what you're teaching. But I would be bored stupid staying home all day. Elsie spoke. You'll be too busy to be bored once your baby is born, Beth. What Elsie says may well be true, said the teacher. But the reason many women go out to work is not because they are bored from having nothing to do, but because they are bored from lack of adult company. You're so right, said Cherry. I couldn't agree more. My husband reckons we should pull down all the fences in our neighborhood so we women would mingle more with each other and stop each other going bonkers. There's a lot of truth in what your husband says, Cherry. We women today do live in an unnatural way. We shut ourselves away alone in our homes with our labor-saving machines, far away from our parents and grandparents and our brothers and sisters. Yet men still mingle with other men in their work, which is probably why men suffer less emotional disorders than women. Some women are outgoing and make friends easily, but most of us do not. When we combine this seclusion from other women and career women's attitudes towards mothers who stay home, we can understand why so many women today get depressed and sometimes go bonkers, as Cherry puts it. So what's the answer? How do we overcome this isolation from the other women? Sonia raised her hand. Yes, Sonia? I used to feel a bit like what you said, but now that I take my little girl along to play center, I enjoy talking with the other mothers, and I've made a new friend. We visit each other all the time, and it's made all the difference in the world. Marina spoke. My church helped me when I was a young mother. We had Young Mums' Day every Wednesday. We had get-togethers at each other's homes. Those who had cars would pick up those of us without transport. They were happy days. I don't know what I would have done without my church friends. Yes, said the teacher, looking pleased. Sonia and Marina have found the answer to our question. So to enjoy our role as mothers and homemakers, we should... She turned and wrote on the board. Involve ourselves with other women who have similar interests to ourselves. We can mingle together, sew together, exercise together, learn together, just as we are tonight. Or even just chat together. That's how friendships are built. We are all becoming friends through this course. When we finish, we will have a friendship link between us that will last a lifetime. Life is so rich and so enjoyable with friends, especially close friends, even if we have only one close friend. And don't feel guilty because you're home enjoying yourself and your friends while your husband is out working to support the family. It's not your role to do that. That's your husband's role. Leave it up to him. Generally, if you're happy, your husband will be happy. We women all need at least one close friend to confide in. Someone we can talk to heart. Our husband is our friend, but he can't meet all our special needs. Most men don't like to talk much anyway. Research has shown that our female brains are more highly developed in verbal areas. We women can speak about 50,000 words a day before we become tired of talking, but most men can only manage about 25,000. That's one of the reasons most men don't feel like talking much when they come home after work. They've used up their quota during the day. Also, women and men have different interests. How many of us are really interested in the mechanical details of cars or the play skills of rugby players? Marina, you had your hand up? Yes, darling. You know, sometimes I think I would like to live like those women in native villages who are always mingling together, washing clothes in the river and collecting water from the well. They always look so happy on TV, just following the traditions of their mothers, no stress. Some of the class laughed. Some agreed with her. The teacher smiled. Yes, I must say that most do appear to be very content, but I would imagine they have their own peculiar challenges, just as we do. I believe that life is designed by God to challenge us. We need challenge to grow. Life is a learning experience. God is preparing us for a greater life to come. So let's sum up what we've learned so far. Firstly, Fascinating Womanhood teaches us that we achieve far more by staying home and building up our husband and children than by going out into the workforce and joining the hunt with the men. No success in a career can ever compensate for failure in our home. Secondly, we are generally more pleasant wives for our husbands to come home to if we have at least one friend to talk to during the day, even if it's only by phone. Close friends are vital. Thirdly, staying home gives us free time to be with our friends, to enjoy our children, to read in the sunshine, to listen to music, to create or play our own music, to enjoy our hobbies and to develop our skills and educate ourselves. Overall, we feel far less pressured and store up lovely memories of treasured moments with our children. We become more feminine and therefore more delightful to our husbands. Now, let's move on to something else very important. Organization. How well organized are we? Many women have difficulty organizing themselves. I know it is hard at times, with all the demands made upon us, especially by our children. But most men, with their orderly minds, are very intolerant of disorganized women. It's the most common complaint they make against us. Angela thought of the muddle she had got herself into earlier that evening about picking her mom up. Also, how she still hadn't got around to starting her love book. However, there is a simple way to become more organized. That is, to write down the things we need to do the moment we decide to do them. There are several ways we can do this. I use one of those small desktop calendar planner diaries that some businessmen use. You know, the ones with a little ring binder that sit on a wooden or plastic base and you turn over a new page each day. I keep mine next to my bed and I have a pin tied to it with a string. It doesn't look very elegant, but it works great. Or you can keep it in the kitchen if you like, as long as you see it every day. Or you can use a book-type diary. I did that for a while. The kind that opens up to a full week at a time is good. You can also take it with you when you go out. But it's too easy to forget where you put it, and I never lose my wooden one. It's always in the same place next to my bed. Whenever I get ideas or have things to do or something to buy at a future time, I go and write it down on my calendar on the exact day I need to do it. Then I don't have to worry any more about remembering it. And every night I sit up in bed and cross off the things I've done that day. That's so satisfying, and I transfer the things I didn't get done to another day on the calendar. Then I can relax and go to sleep with a peaceful mind. My husband uses one of those little computer thingies in his cell phone to do the same thing, but I prefer pen and paper. And every morning, just before I get up, I read my list of things to do that day. If I have some things to do away from home, I'll write a separate list to take with me in my purse. I also keep a little notebook and pen in my purse to take notes if I'm away from home. I transfer them to my desktop diary in bed at night. A system like this works very well when you get into the habit of using it daily. You can also use it to list your weekly, 2-weekly, and monthly regular household tasks, like watering the plants, cleaning the windows, vacuuming, polishing the woodwork, regular outings, meetings, and birthdays. Some women also like to have a writing board in the kitchen. They rewrite each day's things to do from their diary in the order they plan to do them. A woman in one of our classes used the side of her fridge. She wrote on it with one of those whiteboard pens that wipe off with the cloth. Elsie raised her hand. Yes, Elsie? There's an old saying, the weakest ink is better than the finest memory. Thank you, Elsie. Yes, that's so very true. I like that saying. The teacher reached for her purse. I'll write it in my little purse notebook right now to share with future classes. Angela liked the saying also. She found a pen in her purse and wrote the saying in small print on the front of her checkbook. She also wrote underneath, by love book, by desktop diary, by writing board for kitchen. When Angela had written down her list of things to do, she unexpectedly felt more relaxed. She wondered why this should be. Then she realized that she was now free of the anxiety of trying to remember to do these things. She smiled contentedly. Fascinating Womanhood was providing answers to all her problems. Now, said the teacher, let's quickly look at some of the feminine skills we need to master to be successful as mothers and homemakers and to keep our husbands and families content. First, meal preparation. How organized are we here? Men look forward to coming home to a tasty meal that is ready on time. But even the most placid husband will get very annoyed with his wife when she is so disorganized that she's always running late with the meals. And what about ironing? Is it always up to date? Enough towels? Socks? Men get very upset when we lose one of their favorite socks. Bev laughed loudly. Hey, I think there's a sock-eating monster living in my washing machine, and he only eats one of each pair. You wouldn't believe how many single socks my family ends up with. All the class laughed. Yes, I must admit to that problem also, especially when my children were at home. How many of us hoard those odd socks for years, hoping their mates will turn up? Don't you think, class, that we hoard too much stuff in our homes? Toys, clothes, gadgets, cosmetics, pills, magazines. The more we have, the more there is to make clutter. As a general rule, I suggest that anything non-essential that we haven't used for 2 years, we should consider disposing of. We can either give it away, sell it, recycle it, or dump it. Another very important thing Fascinating Womanhood teaches about homemaking is to have a fragrant, clean-smelling home with little feminine touches here and there. Houseplants, china, and wall pictures are nice, and craft and art objects, especially those we have made ourselves. Your husband may not comment about these things, but these feminine touches will gladden his heart. And outside our home, we can plant flowers and fragrant plants in pots if we don't have a garden. A fragrant, clean-smelling home is so important. Men identify us with our homes. If our home is smelly and untidy, guess who gets thought of the same way? So let's keep our kitchens, toilets, laundry, and bedding clean and fragrant. Remember that our home is our husband's castle, and he is number 1. Let's make sure it's clean and tidy and comfortable for him and us. Diane spoke. Should we ask our husbands to help us with the housework? No, we shouldn't ask him to help us with the normal housework, Diane. We are talking about things like the dishes and vacuuming the floors. Unless it is a masculine job or requires a lot of strength, wait for him to offer. If he doesn't offer, we should just accept it. We must remember that the housework is our area of responsibility, not his. He has his own responsibilities to take care of. However, we will find that as our husband's love and tenderness for us increase, the more inclined he will be to offer to help us. We learn more about asking for our needs in secret number 9. And you will find that the more you take care of the house and the more he sees you taking care of the house and working, the more he will pitch in eventually. Same goes with children. I highly recommend the YouTube channel Clutterbug as well. She has got some wonderful tips on how to organize for different personalities. And we will end our video here and begin a new one.